So welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy X HD Remastered. This is episode 43. So we're finally starting our series on the Monster Arena, and this is part one of a few parts. So today we're going to be focusing mainly on capturing and what the Monster Arena is actually about. So just introducing the Monster Arena. So let's go ahead and talk about the background of the Monster Arena first. Excuse me. So, the Monster Arena was actually founded by Lord Mihan about 800 years ago in the Final Fantasy lore for the Crusaders, basically to train them. The owner, actually, we see them right behind Titus there in the image, is named Trema, and he has a unique ability to reconstitute fireflies into fiends, and he basically will be making our life a living hell beyond this point. He basically sells us items that can capture the fiends that we've encountered on our way through here, and they all cost 9,075 gil each, and they can only be purchased here, so we can go ahead and get them. Another thing that he sells here is something called a clear sphere, which basically can help you max out the sphere grid, which we'll be using near the end of the our storyline, or at the end of the game, to max out our stats, and we'll be using that soon. But so what we're actually looking for are these special items that we're seeing on screen here. So Nirvana is Yuna's celestial weapon, and we needed that for the end game, and we've already got the sigil and the crest. And the Blossom Crown was actually needed for the release of the Magus Sisters. There's actually two parts to it: a Blossom Crown and a Blossom Scepter, I believe, or a Flower Scepter. And then there's the Mars Sigil, which is basically Orin's sigil, which we need to get after we breed 10 area conquest or species conquest. We'll be spending a few more videos on both of these individually, and we'll be talking about each species as we go. So the first area actually here is Besaid. That's where we started our journey off. There's only three. There's the Dingo, there's the Condor, and there's the Waterflan. Basically, these guys are found everywhere. You just go ahead and capture 10 of each, and it should unlock something called the Strato Avis, and that's one of the area conquest creatures. So next up we have Kilika, and Kilika is about the same. It has only 4 monsters here, and they're pretty much found everywhere. And that's, I can never pronounce this one, but the Dinonex, the Killer Bee, Yellow Element, and Ragora. So just keep in mind that Ragora does give Komari one of his overdrive abilities, which is Seed Bullet, and don't forget to get that while you're here capturing all these fiends, if you haven't gotten his bullet already. None of them should really give you any trouble. They're all pretty low HP and nothing too crazy. The only one that might give you a little bit of trouble is actually the Raganora, and we should be able to take care of that really easily here. Next up we have Mihan High Road. Again, all the fiends are pretty much all available any area you go in, except for maybe a few of them, like Volvir, Bomb, and Dual Horn. You'll only find these guys in the bottom of the gorge after you've gone to the entrance of Mushroom Rock, because some of them just don't spawn along the road. They actually just come in there, and if you don't find them there, they're actually in the first part of Mushroom Rock before you actually enter Operation Mihan and go up the elevator. So go ahead and keep that in mind. But for the most part, they're pretty much found everywhere, so just go ahead and look for them. Also, keep in mind that the bombs here actually give you an ability, overdrive ability for Kamari, self-destruct. So don't forget to get that. And the dual horn will also give you a fireball, which attacks everybody with the fire elemental overdrive for Kamari again. So go ahead and get that one as well if you missed it already. But this is the first chance you get to get those overdrives, but they are able to be gettable afterwards and later on in the game, especially when you face Kamari and Kamari's brothers, Biran and I forget the other guy's name, but both of them you can get them from them. Next up is Mushroom Rock. So that's the area right after we finish up with Mihan. Most of the guys here are gettable in the area, but there is some overlap in the next area in Doge with enemies like the Fungar and the Lamashtu, and these guys all show up in the next area. And then another one specifically is the Thunderflan. He only shows up in the area right before the entrance above the elevator. Go ahead and get him there, or you could also get him from the Mihan Gorge. If you go down, you can also encounter the Thunderflan there. So don't fret if you can't find him there. Go ahead and head over there. Other than that, all of these other guys are pretty easy to get. The Garuda might have a lower chance of encountering, but if you grind long enough, you should encounter it quickly. And then in this, these are the usual that we usually get in the Mushroom Rock area. The fire guy might give you a little trouble, the red element, and the fungus might also give you some trouble. And then as you can see, these are the enemies that give Kamari his overdrive, and this is actually under the gorge here. So go ahead and look for those enemies that we spoke about, and don't forget to avoid the fungus. He does have a counterattack with status ailment. And then Doge. So Doge is just following the battle that we have, and everybody's pretty easy to get along the road, except with the exception of Simarg. He's only found at the end of the fork near where you go into Doge Temple, and the other fork leads to the Moonflow. He's usually found around in that area, and you just kind of have to walk around, run around, try to encounter him. It's all chance, but he has a low encounter rate, so you really want to keep grinding him. Any chance you see him, catch him. And it might take maybe an hour or so just to get all of him together, like all 10 of him together, but keep at it and you should be able to get him in no time. As for the Ocho, he shows up in the Moonflow, so if you don't encounter him in the Doge High Road, don't fret. Just go into the next area and you should encounter plenty of him. That includes the area after the ship, as well, after the shoe puff as well. Also, don't forget to steal some petrification grenades from these Anacondars or Basilisks while you're there. They come in real handy against the Ochu later on. And then we also see some overlap with Mushroom Rock here. Next up we have the Thunder Plains. So in the Thunder Plains, they're pretty easy to catch, but at this point in the game, if you're a little under leveled, they might wipe you out really quickly. As we were in the in our playthrough, we were a little underwhelmed. Sorry, we were under leveled, and the elemental attacks were a little tough. But go ahead and use a Thunderproof or Thunder Eater armor, and that should really help your chances in this area. Another thing is that the Cactuar in this area, they're a little hard to hit, especially because of their accuracy being so high, or their evasion being so high. But we need to catch those guys too. Use some grenades in the beginning to weaken them with Riku, and then go ahead and try and hit them with Waka. That's your best chance. He has the highest accuracy stat, and he should be able to hit them no problem. As for the other guys, they're pretty easy to easy to defeat, with the exception of maybe Iron Giant. He has a lot of HP for this area and this part of the game. Your best bet is basically to use Protect and to use Armor Break on him to get rid of him quickly. You'll encounter more in the second half, near the exit of the Thunder Plains into the Macalania Woods, where we see the cutscene where Yuna tells them about seeing Seymour. Okay, next up is Macalania. So Macalania is pretty easy in terms of catching stuff. It's just there's a lot of them. So majority of them are all found within the forest itself, such as Evil Eye, Wasp, the Ice Flan would show up in the lake part. Let's go ahead and recount the ones that are in the lake part, and then that'll make it easier on us. So the ones that are found in the lake portion, where it's just iced over everywhere, is the Snow Wolf, the Ice Flan, and the Evil Eye. All of these guys, and the Marusu, yeah. All of these guys are all found in the lake part. Everybody else is found in the forest part, and they're pretty easy to find. You just have to keep running around trying to get them. But you need 10 of each, and it unlocks the Espada, which is also a great enemy to fight in the monster arena. But these guys really come in handy as you go along. So don't forget to catch everybody and steal a lot from them. The items that you get from these guys are really helpful in the game. And then also don't forget to get one of Kamari's overdrives from the Chimera. He gives you Aqua Breath, he gives you the fire if you missed it, the Fire Breath if you missed it, and yeah, that's about it. But go ahead and keep land setting him till you get all his overdrives. And then here are the ones from the Lake Macalania. They're pretty easy to catch. Their HP is quite low. And don't forget to steal from the Wolf and the Ice Flan. They give you some pretty good loot. And that brings us to Lulu's hometown, Bikanal Island. Basically, these guys are pretty easy, with the exception of maybe Sandworm and the Zoo. They're really tough to beat, only because they have such high HP around this time. And but the strategy for the Sandworm actually is to steal Shadow Gems from it and then use it on it, because it does demi damage. And it is susceptible to demi damage. The only thing is, it'll cap your damage down to 4-9 damages, because you don't have a damage break at that portion yet. And as for the Zoo, don't forget to steal dark I believe they're called dark grenades, and they basically cause darkness on the target. And he is susceptible to darkness, so he won't be able to hit you. So go ahead and steal from him and get it. The other person who can actually give you the same grenades are the Alicons. Those are the birds that are in this picture here. They also give you the darkness causing grenades, and that should really help you against the Zoo, and you should be able to take it out very easily. Again, it has two phases, one flying and one standing, so go ahead and take it out as soon as possible. As for the Cactuar, the way to catch them is when you do the easiest way is actually when you do the Riku side quest with the Cactuar village. Go ahead and grab them right there. Catch them then when you're facing them at the end of each trial, or whenever you're sneaking up on them and you get their sphere. Go ahead and catch them there. That's the easiest way to do it. So this is one of the harder areas to collect the fiends. mostly because they're kind of the area is so big, and certain fiends only spawn higher in certain areas, such as the anaconda and the ogre and the curel, I guess it's called, the cat-like, the leopard-like fiend. They usually are in the northeast portion of the Comlands. They spawn higher there. Everything else kinda is uniform throughout. The Malboro actually is closer to where we got the Calibor. You'd get higher spawns there. So go ahead and get it there. But if you don't get it in the actual Comlands, don't fret. Go down to the Cave of the Sunken Faith and the Sunken Cave of the Stolen Faith, and you should find a whole bunch of them there. And again, don't forget to get Kamari's overdrives from the Chimera Brain, and that should really give you basically all of them so far. Just be careful of Malboro's bad breath ability, which causes a whole bunch of status ailments, and it can basically wipe you out in one shot. Other than that, it's pretty easy. And then same with Anaconda. Be careful of some of its attacks. It causes petrification with Stare, and it could basically disintegrate some of your party members, and you could be in some real trouble if you need. But some useful steals in this area actually are Skull and Flame Flan. Flame Flan will give you something called Fire Gem, which is really helpful in this part of the game. All the way up to Unalesca actually. And then the Scowl will actually give you the wolf-like fiend. He can give you something called Sleeping Powder or Sleep Grenade, and that'll basically put things to sleep for you. And that can really help with some of the fiends coming up, because they get real tough beyond this. Okay, next up we have the Sunken Cave of Yojimbo. Basically, these guys aren't tough to fight because we're pretty good. We're a pretty good level at this point in the game, but there are a few fiends that are really tough to find. Like, their encounter rate is super low, which is one is the Tonberry and the other one is the Ghost. These guys are really tough to find in this this part of the game. But the best part is to find them is actually the central clearing in the cave of Yojimbo. Just go ahead and run around there. I think I recommend like around for every 10 fiends, 10 to 20 fiends, you see one or two of them, and yeah, just grind it out to find this the Ghost and the Tonberry here. Another fiend to watch out for is actually the Thorn, which is a variant of the fungus that we saw at Mushroom Rock and Doge and those areas. He has the same counter where he does a whole bunch of status ailments on you for every physical attack and magical attack it receives. So just be careful on that. I recommend using something called Auto Med ability. It might be accessible to you at this point, but go ahead and grab them through there. But from here on out, you should be able to capture all fiends because we've got the capture weapons from the Comlands from the Monster Arena. So I'd recommend starting as soon as possible. And then don't worry, there's also a little bit of overlap with the Comlands, with Malboro especially. You'll see, as we're seeing in this clip here. And then next up is Mount Gagazet. So Mount Gagazet, the first few fiends, the first 4 actually are found in the snow pass of the mountain when you're actually on the outside of the mountain, and just go ahead and grab them as soon as you can, and then don't forget to mug the grenade a lot, so that way you're causing damage and you're stealing from it. You can stock up on a healthy amount of fire gems, which can be really helpful in this portion of the game. And then you can also steal Balderdash. You can steal from him Sleeping Powder or Sleeping Grenade, which was also very helpful. Other than that, all of these guys are pretty easy to beat. all the way up to grenade. That's all 4 of those guys show up in the snow pass of the area. The rest of them actually show up within the cave itself once you enter the actual mountain. The next 3 are the Magpike and the Splasher and the Achilles. All of these guys are found in the water. You know, go ahead and get those guys pretty quickly. Just be careful with the Achilles and the Magpie. Magspike. These guys really can take you out really quickly. They have some devastating attacks, so just be very wary of that. What I do is actually just use Protect and Shell against them and just try to get them as soon as possible. Or just grind it out, level up a little bit higher, and then go and get them. But for the most part, just be wary of those guys. The Akrima and the Grendel and the Mandagora, Behemoth, and Dark Flan. All of these guys can be found within the actual foot part of the mountain, like where you're actually walking around with Titus instead of swimming. But they can also be found in the lead up to the Xanarkin dome. You can find them there. So if you don't find them in high quantities up here, because they are mixed in with other fiends, I would recommend just catching them at the lead up to the Xanarkin Dorm, because there is a whole bunch of... It's a pretty long way to walk from the campsite all the way to the dorm, so you can probably get all of them and all 10 of them in one shot. What I would recommend though is getting the White Wind ability from Dark Flan if you haven't got him from the Biran battle. You can absorb it from Dark Flan over here, and the way to beat him is basically use a frag missile, armor break, or Oren's banishing blade. They can all basically armor break him because he's susceptible. You need it because after every physical attack he will heal himself. You need to take him out as quick as possible, the Dark Flan. Behemoth, just be careful if you're not using a capture item, capture weapon. He will use some devastating attacks during the battle, but at the end of the battle, once you defeat him, he will cause some damage to you before dying. Then there's the Mandagora. Just be careful with him. He causes a lot of status ailments, just like the Ochu did, but he does it at a higher rate. And then Grendel, don't forget to absorb Kamari's Fire Breath if you haven't done so already, from the Dual Horn in Mihan High Road and Mushroom Rock. Next up, we have one of the hardest areas to capture fiends, which is inside Sin. These guys are real tough. You got to be careful with most of these guys, especially Malbo, like basically every single one. The X-Ray, again, it gives you that counter where it just does a whole bunch of status ailments. The Wraith basically is another form of the Ghost, but it has a higher defense, so it's much harder to kill. But it's also got a good steal. If you can steal a lot of good far plane wins, that could give you a lot of good death-proof armor. And then the Geminis, basically they have really high HP, but they are susceptible to armor break. So again, frag grenade, armor break, full break, or Oren's banishing blade should be real effective against them. Demolith, basically he does something called the Pharaoh's Curse. So every time you attack him, he causes a whole bunch of status ailments, including darkness, poison, curse, you name it, silence. The way to get around that so he doesn't counter with that is you inflict silence on him by basically using a silent attack or silent buster, and that basically takes away that counter attack, so that way your guys are safe. Or the next best thing is use auto med if you don't have access to those attacks. A silent grenade will also help against him. Next thing is Malbro Menace, or the Great Malbro. Oh my god, this guy is tough. He always ambushes you. He uses bad breath on his first attack, so he can wipe you out real quick after like you've grinded for so long. So save very frequently when you are trying to catch this guy. He can also be found in the Omega Ruins, so if you don't catch him here, don't fret. The next one is Barbados. Oh, this guy, he has some pretty low spawn rates, so you just basically have to run around and sin and try to hope and get him and just basically count how many you're getting. But he's gonna be tough to find. Same with Behemoth King. Just Behemoth King will be in both areas, so he'll be pretty easy to beat. But the Barbados is only found in the area after you've defeated Seymour again. And then Adamantoise, basically he's found everywhere. But the Adamantoise, don't forget to steal from him. He gives you something called healing water. Basically, it heals your entire party back to full HP, and that is really useful when you're going up against the monsters in the monster arena. And it can also be really useful when you're just basically battling, even in the final battle against Jet. That'll help you. And then last but not least, we have the Omega Ruins, which is one of the best and worst dungeons to grind in. Best if you're really high level and you have pretty good armor. This place becomes real good to grind if you're trying to get a lot of gil and a lot of items and basically just a lot of things. This place is useful for. So almost every fiend here can basically wipe you out, because they do a lot of status ailments and they have pretty high HP and pretty high attacks. With the exception of maybe Floating Death, Zaris, Halma, and the Machia. So the ones that you want to watch out for is the Dark Element. So the Dark Element, basically it is susceptible to armor break, so go ahead and use that against it. But it also has a whole bunch of berserk, and like it can cause a whole bunch of status ailments on you, which can be a real problem. Same with Spirit. So Spirit actually has like a counter attack when you do a physical attack on it, which will basically cause a whole bunch of status ailments, just like the fungus did. So be careful of that guy. And then the Master Coral, these guys will basically cause confusion, and they can wipe out your entire and they also have a blaster which will basically kill you. Master Tonberry, again, these guys have the counterattack Karma, which will basically take you out. Don't use any Aeons against it, because it'll use something called Voodoo and basically insta-kill it. Verona, the emblem of something, basically is one of its attacks, and it's pretty devastating, so just watch out for that. It also uses some pretty strong magic, so if you don't have a high magic stat, it might wipe you out. And then again, the Demolith we already talked about, but all of these guys are pretty doable. You can probably grind this entire dungeon out in maybe an hour if you're really dedicated. And then that's it, folks. Don't forget to catch 10 of everything. Use the capture weapons everywhere you go. Stock up on the items and the armor and the weapons. Sell them for guild. That should really help you out as you go along. But don't forget to grind it out. Use those levels that you gain throughout it. But it's not easy, but it's not tough either. It just takes a long time. Go ahead and grab all of that and you should be okay. But I'm gonna call it a video there. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. We'll see you again for area conquests. I think I'll be doing three separate videos, one for area conquest, one for species, and one for originals. And then I might do a Nemesis by itself, only because Nemesis is so fun and it's the ultimate boss in the monster arena, and it deserves a video on its own. So we'll be grinding that out for the next few episodes of Monster Arena. So again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Help the channel grow. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.